Hey guys, this is Devin here with another episode of Devin Does Battleborn. Now yes, it's another clip where we lose. This is another clip where I play as Galt, but actually this clip has nothing to do with Galt and everything about the enemy team. Now, as you can see, my team right here, we have a pretty decent team comp, right? We have me as a disruptor, we have a healer, we have a sniper, we have some crazy minion clearance in Ernest and Toby, and we have Wrath as a harasser. Now I looked at the other enemy team and I thought immediately, I said, hey, they're done. I don't think these guys are going to stand a chance because I kind of like the theory craft before the match and just kind of picture how it's going to play out in my head. Now, they have two tanks is the reason why they have a lot of hope for them at first. And two tanks is actually usually very hard to maintain because with the one healer, the tanks being that they have being very large targets that take a lot of damage, sometimes it's a little hard for Miko to effectively heal both of those guys and keep them alive. Sometimes you'll see teams like this where the two tanks are dying very often because it's very hard for Miko to heal them, himself, and any other kind of healing that the other teammates need. But this enemy team actually plays this match pretty friggin' perfectly. I want to talk about a couple of things that I noticed that they did that were really well and that makes this a very interesting team comp that they have. So you can see I start off immediately going to the center. Of course I can only give this from my perspective, but I'm going to talk about a couple of other things that I noticed that they do. So they build a turret to start. They get first blood on our Wrath. I'm not quite sure what he did. I waited earlier for Atticus to go away from the turret so I could take it down. I noticed right there Atticus jumped me from the side to back up his Montana. And I ran away immediately. One of the biggest mistakes you can make against Atticus is thinking that you can trade with him and win the fight because he's such a big target. Atticus DPS just through the roof and he'll actually melt you in a lot of situations one-on-one. So in this match, I try to constantly keep a look on where the Atticus is. I definitely don't want Atticus and Montana sandwiching me from both sides like what almost happened there. So I go back here, our Alani pops her geyser to heal us. If you ever see Alani randomly throw a geyser out to where nothing else is there, just assume it's a heal. So I go for the Ernest. All the while, I'm looking at my mini-map throughout this whole match, and you'll see me looking from side to side, and basically I want to know where that Atticus is. I noticed they haven't had a ton of presence on the field. So I have to assume that he's jungling a little bit. I noticed he runs back there. It almost looks like he's going for the turret, and he kind of changed his mind. We turn around, we get the turret. I put up the level 2 just for more levels. I noticed Montana went over there to the right, but I'm just trying to kind of see what Atticus is up to. Actually causing me to kind of waste my time right there, and Montana just comes in. I think, yeah, we managed to secure the kill on the Montana. Things are looking actually pretty good for us right now, but it's a pretty even game, right? We're in neutral. We got a couple of picks. They got one early on. Nothing too significant. I get the Ernest again. I think this time I'm not able to finish him off. I stand that pillar too long. I don't want to take a full barrage of grenades from Ernest. That could kill me off. So Atticus could pounce out at any time. So I'm trying to play this really cautiously. Take our time. I have a feeling that we will win out in the end if we just stay a little persistent. Because right now we have the mid, which is usually the tougher battle to start. And they're playing kind of conservatively. But what you're going to notice is they start getting some absolutely massive pushes. And when they do exactly what tanks should do. So here it's kind of watching the match, keeping some pressure. I'm kind of keeping a look on what's behind us in case somebody comes out. Right there, I took a little bit more damage than I suspected kind of quickly. I probably should have had a little bit more awareness, but I was a little greedy for some damage, some kill on the Montana. And we actually paid big time for this. Not really because I went down, but our healer went down at the same time. So they basically had a 3v5 right there for a little bit. And they were able to retake the mid. Knowing that they were going to have some leeway to push up, I take the time to come get the Thrall here. Just to help us push back a little bit and make sure we can secure mid again. But at this point, like, the match pretty much goes downhill. Like, they get some more picks. We're not at full force, so they're just kind of finishing us off. Toby comes out to help me instead of going back to the field. And at this point, the match just kind of goes south, because we've all been pretty effectively pushed back. Now you'll notice the Montana, they'll do this much better later. The Montana started to come inside of our walls mainly once the minions came in, and that's basically the sole purpose of a tank. A lot of people don't realize this. I've seen it thrown around a lot that Boulder is the only true tank in this game, and that is just absolutely untrue. You have to know, at least in Incursion, the main role of a tank, which is to push minions past that choke point right onto your sentry. And so the tank needs to distract you and draw your attention away from the minions. They have to be a big threat, and properly supported by a healer, Montana and Atticus can be that threat in a lot more ways than Boulder will, and I'll kind of talk about that in a write-up as well, because that's a discussion I want to cover in a lot more detail that I can't really on this video. So I can already kind of see they're getting these just massive pushes. They're sending the big bot out at the exact right time so that it syncs up with their waves. They're not just randomly pushing the big bot through so that we can only focus on that. When we have to distract attention towards the waves and the big bots, then that makes our job a lot harder to take them out. So right here, I already noticed, I didn't even notice they were in the double thrall pit, but at this point it occurs to me that Atticus, as he should be for his extra stacks, has been going to get the double thralls. And they've probably timed all this just right. You can see the double thralls come through at the exact same time as their wave. And we're actually having a little bit of an issue taking this out. The Atticus is decently leveled himself. The Montana is ahead of me in levels, now we're even. And I believe most of the people are about evenly leveled. We get so damaged and distracted by the Montana that they're able to put a decent amount of damage on our sentry shield. Also, with the tanks pushing in and the waves, even though they're huge targets, it's hard for me to get my hooks. Just because the minions are there and often they can get in the way of the hooks. You can see again that they synced up the big bot to come through at the exact same time as their wave. And better yet, they have it coming through at the exact same time as their shepherd bot, so that the big bot is also getting an overshield. And if you can get that timing down, it'll make your Incursion life a bunch easier. And you can see as they do that, Montana comes in, lays down some damage again. We still haven't seen too much of Atticus yet, but he hasn't really needed to be out there. He can jungle. He's probably went and got that thrall. He can just kind of do what he needs to do to level. They have full access to the turret out there for levels currency because their pushes are so efficient. Every single time they get a push, they're maximizing the efficiency of that push. I missed the hook there, which should have been easy. Probably still wouldn't have got the kill. As you can see right now, like, he's being very well supported. I see the Atticus out there, and I notice he's level 5 already, and I'm already thinking this is trouble. I think he didn't engage immediately because he noticed I was there, and now he comes in, and what you want to do at that point is run. I go in, I melee him away to try to save our Alani. I saw she was weak, and I didn't want her taking too much damage. So I had to just melee him just to go a little distance. I didn't want to go in. I knew I wasn't going to secure a kill there. He uses his ult and comes in, and when he does that, like, you basically need to back away. Like, look at my health. The sentry shield is down. Montana came in and did his ult. All the while, they have a full push of minions inside. They get a couple of picks on top of that. Right now, it's pretty much doomed for our sentry. And this is what tanks are supposed to do. They are probably, they are bulky enough to take tons of damage. They could just walk right in here, and we have to decide whether we want to sit around our sentry and take damage and possibly die, or take out, you know, the minions. We need to take out the minions. They're going to do more damage than the tanks are going to do in the long run. But at the same time, if you sit there and just look at the minions, the tanks are going to kill you, and they can soak up the damage until that's done. As you see, Ernest, until that point, he had to just kind of sit behind that wall even while the tanks were in there, or else he risked dying himself. Tanks don't have that issue. They can do plenty of stuff. Montana is a controller. He uses ult in there, not only for the damage mitigation, but also the knockup does a lot of stuff to help that push and to support it in. He gets his ult. Basically, I have two tanks right there chasing me at the same time. No way I'm going to win that fight. Anybody who steps over there is basically done. Poor Toby is done for. I give it all I can with my ult right there, but it's not enough damage. And I ultimately have to run, try to cover my back. They smartly don't take the bait and come in. My team wants to surrender, but we end up actually going ahead and playing it out. But at this point in the match, it's almost a done deal. Not that comebacks aren't possible. I fully believe they are. But right now, I'm a bit discouraged just because their strategy is working, and it's working very well. And I don't think there's anything that our group, we were all randoms. I suspect at least a couple of them might have been teamed up on the enemy side. But I don't suspect there's anything that we can do that will counter their strategy that they've done pretty much perfectly. Everybody on their team was playing the correct roles. And I don't really think anybody on my team wasn't playing their correct role. It's just the enemy team had a better game plan and they executed it to perfection. At this point, even getting pulls on the Montana or Atticus, like, they're the big target, but it's going to be basically useless. He chases me down, get a kill. Lalani tried to heal me right there with a geyser, but it was a little bit too late. And now we're pretty much all down. And this game is pretty much a wrap. I'm looking at a scoreboard there, just kind of assess like where things went wrong, how they're leveling. I can see like even the ones that we haven't seen as much in this game, we've barely been able to look at their Rindy and the Ernest, and they've just been crushing minions and getting tons of levels just because we've been so distracted with the tanks. And they've been so effective. At first, Montana with the healing from Miko and just being a constant distraction, pushing in at the perfect times, and then to follow that up, Atticus once he jungled and got his level. So again, I'm going to put a little bit more discussion on this later, but I just wanted to clip this match.